Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize for there not being a video on Tuesday, as there normally is. My wife and I went on a short vacation, and so I didn't get a chance to record that day. But we are back, and we are still going to be continuing our exploration of the Skellis Mountains. We are in the village of Unported, and today we're going to be talking about a very subtle but rather important part of the Skellis Mountains overall, and that is the ancient order of the Waldspion. They are an order of rangers that were formed sometime before the coming of the Three. The coming of the Three being an era when three archdevils rampaged across the known world, causing all manner of problems. And some say that the Order of the Waldspion was actually created by an avatar of the god Sinaz. But there's no documentation to substantiate any of this, and the Order of the Waldspion themselves will tell you that there's no evidence of this. But it is a legend that the Waldspion was created by the god himself. The rangers of this order have taken an oath and have dedicated themselves to tracking threats throughout the Skellis Mountain range, and they kind of act as guardians and scouts throughout the mountain range, protecting the southeastern lands of the Braunhaven region from the numerous threats that may come from the frozen north. And a lot of times these threats that they're tracking are of natural orders, dragons or giants that are amassing, things of that nature. And we'll get into the possible threat of giants amassing here in the very near future. But the Waldspion don't only track natural threats, they also kind of take a, not necessarily an official stance, but the order does view the current administration of the Glaustian Empire as a rather considerable threat. And so they will at times track trade caravans, keeping an eye out, just making sure that they're not going to be causing any problems. Usually they have some foreknowledge about what a trade caravan that's coming through that will make them decide whether or not they want to actually track it or need to keep an eye on them. The other thing that almost always they will track any caravans or convoys of Glaustian Imperial troops that come into the Skellis Mountain range. And this has been needed a couple of times, and may actually be a part of the reason that the Empire doesn't really bother to go into the Skellis Mountains anymore, because a lot of their, especially their tax collectors, a lot of their people that go into the mountains don't seem to return, or those that do return are their forces are decimated, and reports come back that they were attacked by something. They don't know what it was, but it tore through them. Some people suspect that this may be a part of the Waldspion. So the order loosely has a headquarters here. If you could, I mean, they're rangers, so they're all over the place. But if you could loosely say that they have a headquarters, it would be right here in the village of Unported. But they also maintain numerous cabins and caches throughout the Skellis Mountains. And really calling these a cabin is a bit of a misnomer. They're basically an A-frame lodge, kind of in the style of a Viking long haul. And it is these cabins are available to all of their members. However, they never turn away outsiders that are in need. So if you are traveling in the mountains and you come across one of these and you are caught in a storm or you are short on supplies, if you're hungry, the order allows you or will welcome you in if there are members present, but it is allowed for outsiders to use these cabins. It's not widely known, but the order isn't. If you're there and there's no other rangers at the cabin, nobody's going to come back to you later and say, "Hey, you took our stuff." People that do use these cabins and caches, the one, I guess it is a an Emily Post kind of manners situation. If you use any of the stocked firewood, it is asked that you restock it before you leave. If you do partake in any of, like, they have barrels of water, or sometimes they'll have barrels of wine. If you are able and you use some of that, to please refill it. Usually the barrels of water, it's pretty simple. You could just refill the water from a nearby stream or even snow. Just, refill the barrel. Or boil it first and then pour it in the barrel. However you want to do it. But they ask that if you do use some of the supplies, if you are able to, please replenish them, especially true with firewood, because the rangers that are out running around in the Skelos Mountains, when they do finally get to one of these cabins, it's going to be cold, they're going to be wet, they're going to be in a bit of misery from the elements. And so the proper manners is to replace those supplies. But right here in the village of Nomveham, they have a lodge. It is officially known as a lodge. Now, any ranger that is of 5th level or higher, and of lawful or neutral alignment, can become a member of the Waldspion. And the only requirement for that is that any cabin that you go to, or the lodge itself in Nomveham, the only requirement is that there is a member of the rank of Drachenmeister or higher, or the Huntmaster, is there in order to accept your oath to the Waldspion. And upon joining, you will be given the rank of Rechtkitzler, and you're usually going to stay in that rank for about 6 months to a year. And this is kind of just the rank that you're going to be in to prove that you have got what it takes, or to learn the ways of the Waldspion, basically proving yourself to them. After that 6 months to a year, upon that time, or when it's deemed okay for you to advance, they will then raise you to the next rank of Bachjager. And Bachjagers are really the bread and butter. They're the bulk of the members of the Waldspion. This is the rank where you are really digging in your heels, and you have taken your oath, and you are showing your dedication to the order. And at some point, if you have proven your dedication to the order and your oath, you can then be moved up to the rank of Drachenmeister. And really, this is the Drachenmeister is the rank where the bulk of the leadership of the order comes from. But the actual leader of the order, who is based right here in Nomveham, is a wood elf named Volka Teretho, and he holds the rank of Huntmaster, and he is a 10th level ranger. The order does have a couple of stipulations. So the first stipulation for members is that you must donate 10% of your carried wealth to the order. And as you know, rangers are only allowed to carry with them what they can either carry on their person or pack on a mount. Beyond that, they have to dedicate it anyways. And this would be, the Waldspion is a great way to dedicate that, because in a lot of cases, especially in Nomveham or in some other small village locales, the Waldspion actually donate, extras to the community so that they can survive winters, or the coming of a storm, or some other kind of calamity, whether it be dragonfire or giant boulders, what have you. The Waldspion are there to help the people of the Skelos Mountains. And so part of this is that And it's not just your excess wealth; it's 10% of your carried wealth are to be donated to the order, and that's part of your oath. In return for you taking your oath, the Waldspion will grant supplies, of course, lodging, and especially information. If they know, there's a lot of locales in the Skellis Mountains that may not necessarily be known by everyone. The Waldspion, next to possibly the prospectors, the Waldspion are probably the most knowledgeable of where some of these locations are and histories around some of these locations. A lot of what we know about the Skellis Mountains comes from the teachings and the maps of the Waldspion. So this is freely shared, and knowledge is granted to members. From the very beginning, from day one, you take your oath, and it's like, okay, here's a bunch of maps, and what do you want to know? And they will spill their guts on it. So this is very useful. And then the other benefit to members is that the Order of the Waldspion really has a good reputation in all of the small villages, and even some of the towns at the base of the mountains. For instance, the Waldspion is probably about the distance to the town of Braunhaven. Even Braunhaven knows of the Order of the Waldspion. Beyond that, because the Rangers don't generally leave the Skellis Mountains or go that far, or at least that far to the southeast, their reputation dwindles the further from the Skellis Mountains you get. To the northwest, in the country of Stagina, the Rangers are generally well liked in most of the villages, and they have a very friendly attitude towards the Rangers. So it can be very beneficial for a party to have a member in their midst. So the order, generally is based out of Nome Home. Like I said, because they're rangers, they don't officially have a home. The home is wherever you can lay your rucksack, but Nome Home would be considered by most people to be the location to go if you're looking for the Order of the Waldspion. And in a lot of ways, the fact that that Nome has a Waldspion, a major lodge here, is a is actually more important to Nome even than the tower that was built by the gnomes, with its telescope at the top. That is a curiosity to most people. It's a tourist attraction for some people, but the fact that the Waldspion, in air quotes, headquarters is in Nome is actually far more important. Now, I also mentioned that the Waldspion has knowledge of locations in the Skellis Mountains, and the second one that I noted was the prospectors. And so prospectors, they may not know a lot about villages and towns in the area, but they will know about mines, and the Skellis Mountains is peppered with mines that have either they may not have proved themselves, or they're mines that the dwarves have mined out, and there's nothing but pocket change to the dwarves anyway. It's left in them, or they were taken over. Some calamity happened. Monsters came in and drove the dwarves out or killed them all to the last dwarf. But the prospectors are going to know about those. They're also going to know about good places for gold panning and the possibility of striking it rich. And there are a number of prospectors ranging throughout the mountains at any given time. Here in Nome Home, there is the prospector. There is a shop called Borwin's Prospecting, and it is run by a dwarf, Borwin Ingotforge. So if you are searching for any of these particular mines, Borwin may actually have knowledge of any particular mine. He usually has a 3 and 6 or 50% chance of knowing of any particular mine, and he may actually have a 1 in 6 to 2 in 6 chance of knowing something specific, like a famous lost mine. And so any prospector is going to be a good source of information if that's what you're looking for. But the Waldspion generally have information about the area as a whole and can give you a much wider range of information about the dangers that you face or the conditions that you're going to face going to that area, and a lot of background lore about it as well. So next time we will talk about the observatory, and we will get into the laboratory and or the not laboratory, the telescope at the very top, as well as there is a laboratory full of all manner of magical concoctions, as well as a workshop for gearworks. So yes, please catch us next time on the next episode of the Lore of Braunhaven. Thank you for watching.